Hey everyone, it's Justin here, America's Honest Tax Accountant from Number Crunch Nerds. So I've gotten this question from time to time over the course of my career, and it's basically this. What should my tax goal be when planning for retirement? And it's a great question, because if you have been following me on the YouTube channel, you know that we like to get stuck in the weeds. We like to get down into the real nitty-gritty and number crunching. But sometimes it's really helpful to take a step back and ask, what is the goal of all of this? Is it just to do Roth conversions and max out our desired tax bracket? Or is there more to it? So in this video, I want to lay out a tax goal for our retirement years. Now, of course, before we start, I want to emphasize that this is not the only possible goal, and whether or not it's the right goal is going to be based on your desires, facts, circumstances, financial position, lifestyle choices, and other factors. But it's an interesting goal to think about, and it can be a starting point to help you define and solidify your own goals with respect to tax planning in retirement. So let's lay out a simple fact pattern like this. Let's assume that you're in the Roth conversion sweet spot, which as you recall is between 59.5 and 73. So you say, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to try to complete all of my Roth IRA conversions before I turn 73. In fact, you say, I'm going to do even better than that. I'm going to try to complete all of my Roth IRA conversions before I turn 70. Now, why might you want to do something like that? Well, a possible answer is because 70 is the latest age to which you can push out starting Social Security. And one of the biggest reasons that people's Social Security is often fully taxable, meaning up to 85% of the benefit, is because of income that comes from RMDs. But if there are no RMDs because you converted everything from traditional to Roth before Social Security even started, then it's quite possible that your Social Security won't be taxed up to 85% of the benefit. In fact, as you know, in most cases, if substantially all of your income is just Social Security, then likely none or very little of the benefit will be taxed at all. In other words, getting entirely into Roth before you start taking Social Security has the potential to make your Social Security tax-free for the rest of your life. It will just depend on your other income, but remember that a large portion of most people's other income is RMDs usually. And of course, all the interest, dividend, and other portfolio income being generated inside of the Roth can be distributed to you completely tax-free, as can the principal. On top of that, you could consider putting a significant portion of your non-retirement portfolio, i.e. your regular brokerage accounts, into municipal bonds, which are the bonds of state and local governments, school districts, and so on. Because the interest income from municipal bonds is tax-free for federal and for many states. So with the right fact pattern, you could have the goal of going completely tax-free in retirement. So here is the basic setup for this goal. We try to do as much Roth conversion as possible, considering all of the other things we've talked about within the Roth IRA conversion video series on YouTube. By getting all or as much as possible into Roth, we create this opportunity for all of this income to be generated and distributed to us completely tax-free, and we significantly reduce RMDs in our silver years. And by significantly reducing RMDs, we have the potential to keep the taxability of Social Security really low, or potentially even zero. We just have to crunch the numbers and figure it out. And then for non-retirement portfolios, we could potentially go overweight in muni bonds and have all of that income coming out tax-free. And if we put all of these things together, it is possible we could hit the goal of going completely tax-free in retirement, or if not completely tax-free, at least as close as we can get. Then, of course, you're going to get yourself that lifted 57 Chevy golf cart you've been looking at. Then you get a license plate right on the back there that says tax-free, and then you cruise all up and down the neighborhood, and all the busybodies on their third Bellini will be looking out the window saying, "Dang, there goes tax-free." And they will wonder, how did you figure it out? And so the question is, can we get that Social Security to be completely tax-free? Well, I'm glad you asked. So there's this publication put out by the IRS called Publication 915, Social Security and Equivalent, etc., Benefits. And within that publication is this worksheet 1 right here, figuring your taxable benefit for Social Security. And to figure out what it is, you have all these different lines of things that you have to put in here, and 50% of this and 85% of that, and oh my goodness, look at the size of this calculation. Well, fortunately for you, you follow me on Number Crunch Nerds, and I have created for you right here in this tab called Social Security Calculator Standalone an IRS Publication 915 Worksheet 1 template that goes through all of the calculations for you right here in Excel. Every line reference number here, 1, 2, 3, and so forth, are the equivalent of these, 1, 2, 3, all the way down here to the bottom 19. And you can see if I go back to the standalone calculator, there's 19, the amount of taxable benefit, the amount of Social Security that is ultimately subject to tax. So let's run through a quick example here using $50,000 of Social Security benefit. Now, at the moment, you can see that this $50,000 is actually the only income item that is in this calculation. There's nothing over here for wages. There's nothing over here for other kinds of income, including RMDs. There's nothing down here in this adjustments section. So all we have is the $50,000 of Social Security benefit. And if I scroll right down here to the bottom, you can see that the taxable benefit is 0. And right here, the percentage of Social Security benefit being taxed is 0%. Now, the next thing we want to do, as we often like to do on the channel, is match this calculation up with TurboTax. So here is a 1040. We're going to scroll down here to the income and deduction lines, and you can see right here on this line 6A Social Security benefit, there's our $50,000. And of course, with nothing else in this tax return, the taxable amount is going to be 0. And that agrees to what we have right here. Now, going back to the Social Security calculator, I'm going to drop in an RMD of, let's just say, $100,000 and see what happens. So there's my RMD. That's a taxable IRA distribution. And if we go back down here to the bottom of the calculator, we can see that the taxable benefit is now $42,500, which means the full 85% of benefit is being taxed. Okay, so going back to TurboTax, here is our IRA distribution line and then the taxable amount. Remember that an RMD is just a taxable IRA distribution, and so I have put the $100,000 right there. And because of the $100,000 of RMD income, it has caused our $50,000 of Social Security benefit to become fully taxable. In other words, 85% of the benefit has been taxed. That's the $42,500, and that agrees to the $42,500 right here. Now, the key to this entire example is, let's say that this tax return is for somebody who is already in RMD years. But instead of having $100,000 of taxable RMD, they did Roth IRA conversions for years and years and years, maybe even a decade or longer during their Roth conversion sweet spot. And by doing that, as we discussed, they have eliminated this completely or brought it relatively close to 0. If we go back over here to the calculator, let's say that the person was not able to get the entire amount of their traditional IRA converted before they started taking RMDs, but they got a lot of it converted. And let's just say that instead of $100,000 of RMD, they were only looking at $20,000 instead. Well, now if we scroll back down here, we can see that the taxable Social Security benefit is only $6,850, meaning that instead of 85% of our benefit being taxed, only 13.7% is being taxed. That's huge. Now, going back over to TurboTax, I have changed the RMD to $20,000, and as you can see, the taxable amount of the Social Security becomes $6,850, just like we have right over here. Now, there's something I want to point out back over here on the calculator, just so that there's no confusion. Remember when we were talking about muni bonds? If you were to invest in muni bonds and you got interest off of those, that interest itself is tax-free for federal. However, the IRS is hip to your little game right here. They want you to add back tax-exempt interest for purposes of figuring out if Social Security is going to be taxable. You don't get a double whammy there. If you did, everybody on Social Security would probably just put every dollar they have into muni bonds because all of the income would be tax-free, Social Security would be tax-free, everything would be tax-free. So we do have to account for that. If we do have income from municipal bonds, again, the income itself won't be taxed, but it could have the potential of bumping Social Security up into a taxable position. Let's test that out. Okay, so I've dropped $5,000 of tax-exempt interest right here on this line. I have also dropped it right here on 2A inside of TurboTax. You can see that the inclusion of this $5,000 has bumped up the amount of Social Security being taxed to $11,100. And if I scroll down over here, $11,100. So now we're at 22% of our Social Security being taxed. That, by the way, is still a lot better than 85% being taxed. So again, there is not one magic answer for everybody. It is going to be based on your facts and circumstances, but when you think about the effect of doing Roth conversions early and getting as much of that income out of RMD territory as possible, and then you look at the potential impact that could have on the taxability of your Social Security in later years, depending on your situation, you could be well motivated to get those RMDs done as early as you can. And remember, from an investment perspective, it makes absolutely no difference what vehicle, whether a Roth IRA or a traditional IRA, you're holding the portfolio in. You can invest in the exact same stocks, bonds, mutual funds, whatever, whether it be Roth or traditional. The only difference is a tax designation. So if you have room in the sweet spot, if you have room in those lower brackets in earlier years, the more you can get converted at reasonable rates, the more you have the potential not only to lower the RMDs themselves, but to lower the taxability of your Social Security. Now here's the thing, looking at this calculator for a given year is great, but I have gone another step for you. Right down here in this Social Security calculator template add-on, I have taken the whole IRS Publication 915 Worksheet 1 template that we just looked at and set it up just like the personal tax planning template, going all the way out into the future, into your retirement years, into your RMD years. And we are going to link this up to the personal tax planning template, so it will bring your Social Security over here. It will bring all of your other income items over here. It will bring your deduction items over here. And ultimately, it will come down here and it will figure out what the taxable benefit is going all the way out into the future. So if you're interested in mapping out your Roth IRA conversion strategy side by side with me, including figuring out the extent to which you can minimize the taxability of your Social Security, the standalone Publication 915 template calculator, as well as the personal tax planning template add-on calculator are included with your purchase of the personal tax planning template. So if you're already a member, you can just log into the members area and download them at your convenience. And if you're not yet a member, the personal tax planning template is available for purchase at the link in the description below this video. Also, if you're new here, make sure to check out what is currently my 8-part Roth IRA conversion conversion video series on YouTube where you can see the personal tax planning template in action. To find that video series, just search on YouTube for Number Crunch Nerds Roth IRA Conversion. That's going to be it for today's video. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.